Today we are going to be talking about the tournament that's going on right now, actually just finished in Europe. And in that tournament, the world champion, who is it? Anybody? That's right, Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, won the tournament, although he had a lot of stiff competition. So I want to take a look at one of his games where he attacked his opponent, and hope that you guys will help me find some of his really good attacking moves. Here he's actually playing against one of the best players in the world. His poster is actually up right behind you. Who's he playing?
Aronian.
That's right. Are you an Aronian fan?
Yes,
I could tell by the way you pronounced his name that you were a fan, because you pronounced it very well. So here we go. Unfortunately, you might not like this game so much, so cover your eyes. But
it did happen in the past.
It is Magnus, so it's not like he's losing to just anybody. He's losing to the world champion. But
Losing to a beginner who barely knows how to move.
I don't think that would happen to Levon. No, he's going to win against them every time. So in this position, what do you guys think Magnus did for White in this position? What move might you consider playing here? All right, so what would you do here as White? It looks like all your pieces are really in good shape. So any way that you can increase the attack here? Yes?
F4 to D5.
That's a really interesting idea. Play knight takes d5, and then after knight takes d5, queen takes d5. It looks like you picked up a pawn. But what potential ideas does Black have here?
None.
No, Black has some ideas here, in fact. In fact, this position gets pretty interesting.
The queen.
Yeah?
Move the queen to E6.
You could move the queen to e6, but note that now White is up a pawn. So Magnus might think that being the world champion, he can win an endgame up a pawn and just trade queens. Or you might just move back the queen and try to win that way. But either way, it'll be a pretty good situation for White. Yeah?
Bishop to A3.
Bishop to A3 is a really interesting move, because now you're attacking this rook and you're attacking this queen. White does have an interesting counter here, though. Does anybody see what White might play here? Pin and win. And then it's going to get really messy. Yes?
Now I'm just forgotten.
Okay.
Oh.
Anybody see a pin here that White can take advantage of?
Rook takes G6.
Yes, rook takes G6 is an interesting move, because notice this pawn can't capture. Why not?
Pin.
It's a pin, right? That's a really important pattern to remember, right? But it's actually not the end of the story here. Suppose Black does play something like king to H7 here. Now, how many of White's pieces are in take here? Or could be captured?
Not.
A lot. How many?
2.
Well, actually 3.
3.
Right? I can take this rook, I can take this queen, I can take this rook. So I don't think White can protect against all that. Probably the best try.
Keep your.
Yeah?
4.
Hmm?
4.
What's the fourth one?
Oh yeah, I just forgot.
3. 3 is enough. Oh, you're thinking maybe that I'm attacking this twice.
No.
So I'm attacking with the pawn and the king. So Magnus decided that instead of going for that variation right away, why not go for the same variation idea, but put more pressure first on Black? So how did Magnus put even more pressure on Levon Aronian here? So his pieces are all in good shape, but he used another thing. Yes? Not knight g6, that's a fantastic idea, but it's not what he played here. He did that a little bit later. How do you hit g6 with another thing? So knight takes g6 is possible. How do you put another point on g6? Notice that Magnus has recently played the move h4. Why do you think he wants to play h4? Yes? And he can make an attacking move after playing h4, yes? Yes, in your, yes. And
Wait, if we could do a check.
nope. Yeah?
H5.
He can play h5 here. That's a fantastic move. And now with h5, you're threatening to take on g6. And then this pawn is going to be removed. And white, when they start taking on d5, it's going to be a check. So this move, very strong. And that goes to show, when you're attacking your opponent with all your pieces, sometimes what do you need to break open the position even more? You need to use not your pieces, but your what?
Pawns.
That's right. Right? So sometimes you use your pawns to crack open files and diagonals to hurt your opponent. And that's exactly what happened here, because after king g7, now after takes twice on g6, what's the weak point in this position that Magnus is going to go after? Yeah?
There are pretty much two, G6 and H6.
Excellent. Very good. But especially g6, because that's already attacked once by the knight. And it's not protected by any pawns. Notice also that even the e6 square could become a problem later. So Magnus now played knight takes d5. And now after knight d5, queen d5, he had a very particular idea in mind here. So black played bishop takes g3, taking a pawn off here with the idea that if pawn takes g3, black will just play what? So it's a discovered attack. Rook takes queen, exactly. So what did Magnus do instead of pawn takes g3 here? Now he played an excellent move. Let's see if you guys can find Magnus's excellent move here. Play like the world champion. He played a very good move here. Now, usually when you're attacking, usually you like to keep your pawns. But occasionally when you're attacking, losing a pawn can sometimes have a silver lining that it can open up a line of attack. And that's what happens here. That losing this pawn on g3 actually ends up being a positive for Magnus Carlsen.
And a pawn's only worth 1 point.
That's right, a pawn's only worth 1 point, so sometimes you can get away with giving them up. They're not, well, they're basically for sacrificing. Pawns are not quite just for sacrificing. Sometimes when you're attacking, sometimes when attacking it feels that way, but remember, if you don't checkmate your opponent's king in the middle game, how do you win the game? What's your other way to win the game if you don't? In plan A in chess is attack your opponent's king in the middle game and checkmate them. What's plan B? Yeah?
Checkmate them in the end game.
And how do you usually do that? Not quite with pawns, kind of.
Well, you promote.
Exactly. Plan B is usually you promote a pawn, you make a queen, and you checkmate them in the endgame. But what does that mean? What's very important to be ahead on if you're planning to win in the endgame? You need to be ahead in pawns, right? So they aren't just for sacrificing. But let's get back to this position. White to move, what would you do? So your queen's in take, yeah. So you got to move your queen, but where's a good square to move that queen to? Yes?
Queen, it's about
Queen e4, the thing is, if we're attacking, do we want to trade queens? No, we don't want to trade queens because then we won't be able to attack that easily, right? And actually in this position, we're going down in pawns. So we're going even in pawns. We're just going to all probably take each other's pawns and it'll be kind of even. So, and black probably actually has even better moves here. So, maybe. I'm looking at bishop takes f2 here. But in any case, bishop takes f2, just snatching a pawn first, and then after king f2, we have some other options which might make this very dangerous for you. But at the very least, we can just take here, as I pointed out in the last variation.
as
So instead of queen e4, what else? What else can we do to keep the attack going? Yes. What other good moves are there, guys? Yeah? Excellent. Queen g2 is the best move in the position because now, when this bishop goes away, what is White targeting? He's targeting this pawn once again, right? And so the bishop must go back to d6, otherwise we'll play queen takes g6, and we're going to be winning. So after bishop d6, Magnus played knight c4, and then after rook f8, what do you think he played here?
The pawn.
No, I want you to think. So now he played a key move to target this weakness right here. How do you target that weakness right there on g6? Which all began with this really nice idea of h5. So that's what sometimes it's about in chess. It's about attacking a piece until your opponent can't defend it anymore. The better you get, the harder it's going to be to just attack a piece your opponent doesn't see it, you take it. Obviously that happens a lot, but the better you get, they're going to see it. But sometimes, if you play clever enough, even if they see it, they can't do anything about it. Yes?
Knight e5.
Excellent. Fantastic idea. Knight e5, that is what Magnus Carlsen played. Now the beautiful thing about this move is that now we're threatening to play what? Yes?
He's going to play bishop e5.
No, White. White is threatening to play what? Yes, in the back.
Queen
You got it. Queen takes what? Yep. Yep, you got it. Queen take, exactly. Queen takes g6 is a brutal threat. We're also threatening to take this rook off. So black thought it was necessary, as you pointed out in the front row, to play bishop takes e5. But now white, anyway, is able to insert a little in-between move. Yes?
checkmate.
Well, we don't quite have checkmate, but we've got a good move. Yes?
Queen takes pawn.
Exactly. So we play queen takes g6. They call this a what? What do they call this when instead of taking this back on e5 right away, we start with the move queen takes g6? Does anybody know what that's called?
No.
Anybody know that has a special name in chess? Yeah? No? Yes? No? It's called an in-between move and is a very important chess tactic. So you take my queen and you think I'm just going to take your queen back, but instead I check you and I win another piece. So queen takes g6, and now after queen takes h6, finally Magnus took back on e5, because if he plays rook g6 now, that's not so great because the bishop can come back to defend. So finally he took this off, but meanwhile look at this king. Does it have any defense? No, it's just got no pawns in front of it. So the big Levon Aronian friend in the back is looking very sad because that king is not in good shape. And so now a nice move by Magnus. He's bringing another rook into the attack. What do I call this? Anybody listen to any of my commentary, you would know this. So basically the rook is going to c4, and then the idea is that we're going to f4, and then we have one more piece in the party. Right? Invite everybody to the party. You want all of the pieces participating in the attack. This specific way of getting another piece into the attack is called...
Skewer.
No, it's called a rover. Rover stands for rook up and over. So we're trying to get our rook from c4 to f4. Because sometimes it's hard to get the rooks into the attack. They can be a little bit clumsier. They are the second most powerful piece, but they're particularly proficient in endgames. In middle games, sometimes it's tough to get the rook in. Right? So now we reach this position, and we do get the rook to f4 check. And now rook to e6 check. And black tries to climb out of the situation by getting some trades in. Now Magnus plays rook e4 check. And this is where it gets really interesting. What would you do? Now, black's playing king d8. It looks like he's running away. Now white has a really good sequence of moves. What can white do now? Hamden? This might take you a minute to figure out all the permutations here, all the different possibilities. Remember, whenever you're playing chess at a high level, you guys are in the advanced class here, so I know a lot of you are playing stronger and stronger every day. You need to look at all of your opponent's different responses, especially with captures and checks. Yes? What do you think?
Queen takes h8.
That's not the best move because then after queen takes h8, you don't have a clear continuation. So instead of queen h8, anything else? Yes? Okay.
Queen h4.
The queen h4 is also attacked by the rook. So there is a way. Is there a way to interfere with the connection here between this queen and this rook? Does anybody see a way where we might be able to interfere with that? Because this idea queen takes h8 is a good one. Just doesn't work at the moment because the queen could just capture. So how can we interfere with that idea? Yes? You want to move this rook here. Where do you want to move it to?
Just one space up.
Up like that or like that?
Up one.
Well, if we go up one, it's not a forcing move, so our opponent will just take here on h6, right?
No.
So instead, no, don't lose your queen. Yes, instead.
Rook to d4.
Right, instead, so Magnus instead would have played rook d4 check. That's interfering between this queen and this rook. So now, if the king runs away, now your move works all of a sudden, right? Queen takes.
She just takes.
That's an excellent question. That is a very good question. Now, what if Levon were to play queen takes rook with the idea that after pawn takes queen, now who's winning?
Black.
Black would be winning because after pawn takes queen, rook takes queen, black's up what? Black would be up a rook. But do you think Magnus would allow that, or would he find a better move here? Well, what is it?
Good point.
What is it? It's another one of those in-between moves which come up so much, especially at the Grandmaster level. That for the amateur level and the youth chess level, the most important tactics tend to be double attack, pins,
Royal forks.
forks and double attack is the same thing. But at the Grandmaster level, in-between moves is the most important tactic.
Did black actually do that?
No.
I thought
Good question.
Royal forks was the best tactic.
No, the most common, not the best.
What's the royal?
The one that comes up the most in games. Yes. Queen g5, beautiful move. Queen g5 check. And now, notice that there's no way for us to use the queen to block this effectively. And now when the king moves, now we take the queen. And now we've got a queen versus a rook. Do you think Magnus Carlsen can win that?
Yes.
Yes, the world champion can win that. How many people here can win that? Let's say, yes, we can all win with the queen versus the rook, right?
Oh, I know really.
Even if we're playing Magnus Carlsen, right?
I know a really good move.
Yes. What?
For what?
What?
G7.
Queen g7, if it's our move next, we would play. It's not our move, but the problem is that this queen and this pawn are so powerful that we could beat even Levon Aronian or Magnus Carlsen in this position as white, right? As long as you don't hang anything, you would win the game. Right? So instead of king d8 in the game, actually it ended like this instead. Or actually, I think Levon resigned at some point around here. I was playing around with it to show some cool variations, but this is another way for the game to end. If the king just goes to d7, now queen e6 check, king d8, and rook d4, and this is actually almost a checkmate. They'd be forced to take that rook on d4.
And they would have.
And again, we would be left with a queen and a pawn versus this rook. And an easy win for white, okay?
That's 10 points versus 5.
Exactly, 10 points versus 5. Easy win. Very good. Okay. Any other questions? Are you guys all ready to play some awesome chess? Some world champion style chess today in the tournament, right? All right. So castle and try to attack your opponent's kings. I wish you all good luck.